If the Earth's crust was even a little thicker, we would have no oxygen. The Earth slants at 23 degrees, and that slant causes the seasons, which are important to agriculture around the planet. The Earth rotates at 1,000 miles per hour, 25,000 miles a day, 9 million miles a year. It travels around the sun at 19 miles per second. While you're listening to me speak, the Earth is traveling around the sun, 19 miles a second, over 1,100 miles an hour, 6 million miles each year. And yet it happens held together by an invisible force called gravity. In fact, many scientists have observed that even the situation of the Earth in the universe suggests that it is uniquely situated to observe the universe. One scientist said it's almost like it was put there on purpose. Some people say, I look at all the world, I look at how the Earth is perfectly rotating and it perfectly tilts and it's perfectly positioned away from the sun and all the complexities even of the human body, and I still believe it just happened. Well, I tell you, I don't have that much faith. I think it takes more faith to doubt a creator than it does to believe in a creator. To me, the most rational statement that anyone can ever make is that in the beginning, God. And the most irrational statement anyone could ever make is that out of nothing, everything just happened. I've often asked people who believe in naturalistic evolution to just, well, what caused that? And if man evolved from primates, well, what caused that? And they can back up through the evolutionary chain to a cell in a primordial soup, and they say all of life arose from that. And I said, well, what caused that? They might say, well, a lightning bolt struck or electricity came and hit the water. Well, what caused that? And you can back the argument up until the only answer they have is, at once there was nothing, and then out of nothing came something. Is that rational? Is that scientific? Does that make any sense to you? Doesn't it make sense that there's an ultimate cause for everything that we see? And is it not possible that that ultimate cause is God? So I would suggest to you that there are logical, rational reasons to believe in God. But not only are there reasons from the head, there are also reasons from the heart. Only God can give meaning to our life. Life apart from God means nothing. If there is no God, then your life means nothing and doesn't matter. You're just a highly evolved animal. What you think, your consciousness, whom you love, beauty that you appreciate, those are all just chemical reactions that mean nothing. Does that make sense? If you look for meaning in life apart from God, you won't find it. There's a great book in the Bible. It's called the Book of Ecclesiastes. It was written, most people think, by an ancient Israelite king by the name of Solomon. And Solomon, the Bible tells us, was fabulously wealthy. But for a long period of time in his life, he began to look for meaning apart from God. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, this is what Solomon wrote. He said, meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What does man gain from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? It's kind of depressing, isn't it? Solomon said everything is meaningless. You know why he thought everything was meaningless? The key is found in that verse where he says, under the sun. 29 times in the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon uses that phrase, under the sun. He's talking about things that you can touch and taste and feel and see, things in this life under the sun, the physical realities of life. And he looked for the meaning of life in all those physical realities, and it still left him empty. If you read the book of Ecclesiastes, he tried everything. He tried hedonism and pleasure. He had lots of wives and lots of concubines. He drank wine. He used all kinds of things to make him feel good. He had comedians. He had entertainers. He tried materialism. He had wealth, unbelievable wealth. He may have been one of the wealthiest men who's ever lived in the history of the earth. Egoism, he tried to do great things and make a great name for himself. But at the end of the day, this is what Solomon said. Hedonism, materialism, egoism, the desire to do something, have something, be something. Nothing worked. He said it's all meaningless. You know, we see people today who say the same thing. I read recently a Hollywood celebrity who wrote this. I found that I couldn't shove enough drugs, women, cars, stereo, houses, stardom in there. He's talking about in his heart, in there to make me feel good. I guess that's why a lot of people overdose. They get to the point where the hole is so big, they die. What fills the hole in your heart? What fills the empty place? It's not the things of this world that fill it. If it was, then people who have those things would be utterly happy, but they're not. People find meaning when they turn to the spiritual realities of life. They find meaning specifically when they turn to God. So many people will tell the story of how they looked for happiness in money or pleasures or other people or accomplishments in life, only to leave them unfulfilled. And they'll tell the story of how they came to a point where they believed in God and they surrendered their heart to God and they trusted in Him. And in that moment where they trusted in God, they found the meaning of life, not under the sun, but above the sun. I had a conversation with a friend that got around to the topic, why do you believe in God? And he said to me, Willie, I believe in God because of what He did in my life. He told me a story about how he went to a worship service at a church, and that day something unusual happened. It was just as if God was speaking to him. He heard the truth. He felt as if God was directing it toward him. And he came to a point in his life where he opened his heart and he put his trust, he put his faith in God and received Him in a personal way. And he felt as if God came in and changed his life. He said, to this day, the reason I know there is a God is because of what He did in my life. It was like the Red Sea parted. I went to church that day, one person. I came home a completely different person. God did something in my life. Maybe the greatest argument for God is myself, that I'm alive, that I'm conscious, that I'm a living soul, that I think about spiritual things, that I appreciate love and beauty, and I think about eternity, and I think about God. You know, Solomon, after he tried everything and found no meaning in life, came back to God. And at the end of the book, in Ecclesiastes 12:13, he wrote this, now all has been heard, and here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God, keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man, to know and to serve God. Again, that's why you're here. And Solomon realized that apart from that, life had no meaning. He knew that God was real. You can believe in God because it makes sense to believe in God. It's the most rational, logical thing you can ever believe in. And you can believe in God because He alone can provide meaning to your life. He alone can help you make sense out of life. Well, these are great questions. And I hope you have a great discussion in your group talking about these questions. And I look forward to next week as we continue talking about life's biggest questions.